and welcome to this celebration of all things gardens here in Garden City. I'm Susie Ratcliffe, and welcome to the 25th anniversary of the Garden City Garden Club Garden Walk. We have 5 beautiful homes that we just can't wait to show you, both front and back, and I think something for everybody this year as well. We were incorporated as a garden club, this Garden City Garden Club, back in 1957, and for 25 years the club has been working very hard to make sure that you are seeing the best of the best here in Garden City. This year will not disappoint, I promise you. So we want to talk about a couple of things, a couple of ways that you can get involved in the garden club. You are always welcome to nominate a house or your home, for example, into next year's walk. They're always looking for that. In addition, if you want to attend meetings, they're held the third Tuesday of every month at 7 o'clock at the Maplewood Center. In the summertime, they're held at residents' houses that are members of the garden club. And finally, lots of opportunity for conversation, for friendship, and most importantly, to learn some things about gardens. And this year, to celebrate the 25th, special events going on at the Straight Farmhouse with Friends of the Garden City Historical Museum as well. So we hope you will enjoy a wonderful show, 5 beautiful gardens, and a great celebration of the 25th anniversary of the Garden City Garden Club Garden Walk. For more information, gcgc.weebly.com. Let's get started. Get ready to see some beautiful gardens, Garden City. We are at the lovely home of Val Templeton here on Windsor Street as we celebrate the 25th annual Garden City Garden Club Garden Walk. And Val, as I look around at the color and the textures and all the metalwork going on in this yard, it's apparent that it should be in the garden walk. Yeah. So congratulations. It's wonderful. Tell us a little bit about this garden. I know it's relatively new by way of Garden City Gardens. They tend to be around for a long time, but what happened here?
Well, I bought this house 4 years ago. I had a much larger lot in Garden City before when I was in the garden walk, so I took 100 plants, overwintered them at Stacy's place up at Lucky Dog, and then in that spring I brought everything over here. So most of this is from my yard. I've had a couple of things that I've added, obviously, but yeah, it's been this was all wild raspberries out here, the whole backyard. So it took a while to get this. You know, this is the best it's looked ever. So yeah, I'm very proud of this. It's been a lot of hard work.
I'm sure, as you should be very proud. Yeah. The idea of people transplanting from one place to another is it's quite lovely, and sometimes can be kind of emotional. So was that a process for you?
Yeah, because Stacy and I want to go. Like, I have stuff from her yard that she gave me. She just moved as well. So yeah, that is it brings back memory of, like, if we've gone to a particular nursery or a friend gave me something and maybe they're no longer here. So I love getting plants from friends, and I already told everybody, the people that have been here that I know, that in the fall I'm going to be splitting a lot of my hostas. That's my favorite plant. And they're more than welcome to come over, and all gardeners want to share what they have. I mean, I find that anyhow, you know. So that's a good thing about going to the garden walk, is that you get to see other, you know, plants and stuff, and everybody will say, do you need something? You know, let me know. So that's a good part of it.
And that's the sign of a good gardener. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, that could be true, because you want to share. Because you're proud. That's why. Yeah. So.
Well, let's look around a little bit and talk about what we've got going on. I do see a good amount of metal art going throughout the gardens, and you have kind of a story behind that based on your
well, I
employment.
work at the Iron Workers Training Center. Okay. So when I want something, I see something, they are very nice, very nice, and they make it for me. So this was made by Laura's son from Maxwell, Matt. He did this for me. And then I go to craft shows, stuff like that, pick up stuff like this is just finials from curtain rods that a man, that a man put together, and that's the kind of stuff that I love to find. You know, just stuff like that. So, and I don't care if it's rusty or whatever. I don't like to paint a lot of things, but yeah. So. Yep.
Very nice. Let's walk forward a little bit, and I know you said you love hostas, but you've got such a variety of other things going on here. Maybe we can kind of stop here and you can talk about what's going on in this area.
That's hosta. That's daylily, which I have a lot of those, and I've got a lot of those from friends. In fact, my neighbor next door, Linda, she just donated probably 40 plants to the garden club plant sale that's up at the house today that they're going to sell. That's a phlox is over there. I have a little bit of dill down there. That's a praying hands hosta, the little green one down there. There's black-eyed Susan in there that has not flowered yet. And then that's a smoke bush. It's not doing that well, but I'm going to keep it. I don't tear anything out till it's absolutely, not growing
Good.
anymore. So, yeah, I have coral bells. This was, like I said, the other house was so much shade that I wasn't going to get rid of this stuff. So it's acclimated here, I guess, is what I could say. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Well, let's keep walking around.
Okay.
I see you've done something pretty interesting with what was likely a pair of
trees.
really strong trees.
Yeah.
Feel free to come on
Yeah,
over.
But I had to get them. They were just terrible junk trees. So, and I knew I wanted something between them like that. So again, I had the ironworkers make that for me. And then that's a new rose that I bought just last year. It's a climber. It's peach. It's scented. It's beautiful. So I'm hoping that that'll just fill that. And then I'll probably put a clematis back there as well to fill in. And it will be gorgeous in a few years. So
sure.
yeah.
And that's a little tip. Sometimes gardening requires a great deal of patience.
Yes.
Like you
Yes.
say, well, it's not going to work this year, but next
Right.
year and a couple of
Yeah,
years.
in
So
a
that
couple
is a
years.
part of that whole sort of cultivation and maybe even a
Yes.
little bit of a longer term vision as you
Right.
design your garden, yes?
Well, that's true because people make the mistake of putting everything really close together. You have to know how your plants are going to look in 5 years. And so if they say something is going to grow 2 foot wide and 5 foot tall, that's normally about 5 years. So you have to picture that in your mind so that you don't cram everything in. I mean, I don't want to have to weed is why, So you do, that's
Yeah.
why this is all tight, so I don't have a lot of weeding in there. So, but yep, that's what it is. People have to have that vision. That's why landscapers do the job that they do because they know that for a fact on how to plant things the right way. So,
Great. That's great advice. Let's keep walking around here. Seen some beautiful butterflies so far. Yeah. Oh my gosh, look at that. You like them and probably try to plant
I
things that
do.
attract them.
I do. A lot of this stuff right in this area right here is for butterflies. That particularly they love. So that draws them in. I have Mexican sunflower over there. It's not bloomed yet.
Okay.
And that's one thing that they absolutely love as well. So yes, all this whole area here is for the butterflies. So
Well, let's keep walking. And another thing that I notice in terms of, I call it texture, but really mix and match of sizes, not only colors, but sizes of things too. You've got some taller than you,
Yeah.
and then some ground cover, one
Yeah.
extreme to the other there,
Yeah.
to really fill it in, right?
yeah, I mean, you want different colors. I just read in the an article in the paper this week about how everybody wants to go to a green garden. Well, you can see the different colors of green that I have. There's different textures. There's different leaf shapes. Like look at the leaf shape. So that's what I want to see. Because in a shade garden, you don't normally have a lot of color unless you're planting a lot of annuals. But to me, I love things just with different textures, like these sedums. Look at the different colors and textures on that up against this. That's what you have to have an eye for to see. So that's yep.
Good. Let's keep walking, and I see some huge sunflowers there, and as well as quite a few other items. Let's go just a little bit further, and we can kind of stand here and take a look at these things. When we talk about planting vegetables near regular
In
flowers
within
and so on,
flowers, yes, you
is
can
there
do
a
that.
is there a process for that?
Well, there's a book that that I got a few years ago that you can't plant carrots next to a certain thing. There's actually there is a book that tells you what things, because maybe one plant draws a certain bug
I see.
and you don't want that in your vegetable. That just came up this year. I did not plant that, so the squirrels or something must have, birds or something must have deposited that there. But
Nice.
yeah.
I kind of see that as the difference between, or the connection to, science and nature, because you
Yes.
kind of do have a little bit of both going on in
Yes.
any really robust garden.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, very good. Well, let's keep swinging it around, and now we're getting to some of the climbers again, as well as some of the animal metal art. We'll have you come all the way over here and tell us a little bit about what's going on this side.
This is just a hydrangea, but it's huge. I mean, it grew really, really well. Like I said, those are Mexican sunflowers that haven't bloomed yet.
Okay.
That is a Dutchman's pipe vine. That's to attract the swallowtail butterflies as well. More hostas, coral bells. The little tiny green plant right there, it'll be big. That's called an eyeball plant. And when it gets big, it has white little eyeballs on it. I love unusual things too, Yeah, and then the birds were I have had those made as well. So yeah, it's just all different stuff, It's just throw it together and see what it looks like. If you don't like it, you can always change it. That's the best thing about gardening.
Well,
So
I like your advice. It's simple, but
Yep.
clearly very effective, and that works well. Why don't we stand over here and we'll kind of wrap up our tour of the garden. But again, the Garden Walk allows us to showcase all of these here in Garden City, and
Yes.
for others to come in and be a part of it. So thank you for being a part of the Garden Walk. But it's not as much a resemblance as I see as the last name. I think you probably have like family in with the Garden Club. Yes.
just my sister
I
Stacy,
thought
yes,
so, yeah.
and
How
she should
fun.
be here pretty soon.
Oh,
so
great,
yeah,
great. This is
and we'll
so
look
fun.
forward to her yard in a few years because she just bought that big house over there.
Yes.
So yeah,
Nice.
her yard will be beautiful in a few years as well.
Very good. Well, this yard, I think, clearly shows that you don't have to have 2 acres to do something
Nope, you sure
spectacular.
don't.
And also the concept of incorporating your own little personality, your own little touches. It's what makes it unique to you, and
it does.
clearly you get a lot of joy out of this as well.
I do. Thank you very much.
It's been our pleasure. Congratulations again, and happy gardening.
All right, thank you.
We're at the lovely home of the Connermans here on Bach Street at the 25th annual Garden City Garden Walk. And oh my goodness, this is literally a park-like setting that you two have here, Mark and Katina here, the homeowners. And tell us just a little bit about how long you've been working on your gardens as we get to peek through them. But what kind of a process you have as sort of a husband and wife team here going on? How's that work?
We'll let her talk.
Oh gosh.
Exactly.
Well,
She's the boss.
Good answer already. Yeah.
Let me think. We bought the house in 2011, moved in 2012. It's been a work ever since. We've transplanted a lot, recycled a lot in the yard. And it's just, Mark's the pond guy. And then you got me that just kind of fills in. So it's fun. It's a team effort, you know.
And in this team effort, when the season is kind of hitting and coming upon us, and we have to get out here and start doing the heavy lifting, so to speak, whose job is harder? Would you say? His.
Mine.
Okay.
Oh,
So
yeah.
tell us a little bit about that process.
Well, it's mostly just cutting the grass or working on the pond. The pond's like the biggest thing to work on. That's the longest. Moving rocks, all that stuff. So yeah, that's mostly like the hard stuff out here. And sweating, that's about it.
A lot of
But
that
it's
going
fun.
on these
Oh,
days,
yeah,
huh?
but,
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's well worth the time.
Yeah. Well, we wouldn't do it if it didn't give us sort of some sort of what's the word, ability to connect with nature, have some peace and quiet, have some sort of Zen time. That's what I always hear from gardeners. This is their special time. Right?
Well, well, yeah, that's one reason why we bought the house was because of the country setting and how quiet it was, Yeah. And plus, we liked the yard. It was a nice sized yard. I was like, yep, always wanted a big yard. And for being in Garden City, the size of the lot, it was like, yep.
We've got some tucked in here and there, huh? And then this is clearly one of them. So Katina, you have again lots of room to work with, and it looks like in these 7 years that you've been here, you've sort of picked and chosen some areas to really develop. And I suspect that's going to ebb and flow as you continue this journey as a gardener. But was there something that you felt you had to do early on, or is there a process by which you should do this first, so then maybe move into this and this for people that are getting started themselves?
When we moved in, it was a jungle back here. So we started with the front and slowly moved our way back. As you can see, this area here, we're starting for the birds. We get a lot of birds in the back, but weed control is kind of a really big issue. So everything's a work in progress. This was all here when we moved in. So this year I've been working on this area while he's been working on this area. So it's, we go by area and what needs to be done.
So let's walk and talk a little bit as we get into the idea of personal philosophy, because that's always a big thing with gardeners. Is there something in particular that you said, we have to have this is really what I want, whether it was easy or hard to acquire, but what do you think? And we can see your beautiful yard in the background, but all these little things.
We just, looked around the yard, see what we had, and then just went
And what
from
we had to
there.
cut out.
What we had to cut out.
Taking trees down.
I see.
Yeah, I took down probably about 8 trees in this backyard already, so
At least. But
just to open it up.
like this area is our pet cemetery. So everything kind of has a reason, but we just go with the flow and you know, see what might look good there, or what we might want to transplant, or it's fun. We really like it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say because the pond has been changed probably 6 times since we moved here
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
different locations.
in different locations.
What the heck?
yeah.
This is
Yeah,
like
just
a,
dug
it's
this-
like a little lake you got, and you
Yeah.
keep changing it, huh?
Yeah, I changed
Every
this this
year.
spring. I dug it out even more and
Wow.
yeah, added that whole sitting area and all that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me just say, take a couple years off because this is amazing. Love this spot, especially the area to just kind of relax. And there's just something so soothing about the sound of the water
yeah.
running. And then in a minute, we're going to look at some of the actual inhabitants of that pond. It's amazing. I don't see a lot of annuals. It looks like you're pretty much trying to keep things that are going to come back year after year. Yes?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we both work nights. So having a lower maintenance yard than to have to plant annuals every year, just it helps us out tremendously.
Yeah. And I really do think it kind of goes with this sort of natural approach you've got here. Very green, very lush. That's wonderful. Some artwork sort of peppered throughout. I see, I don't know, the pelicans, I think, the little statues, and we've got some spiritual things and some sort of Buddha Zen kind of things going on. Do you just find something you like and just figure out where to add it? Is that how it works?
Oh, yeah. Or it's given by friends or
Friends, yeah,
family, so
yeah.
it's like, okay, we'll try and fit it in somewhere. We chose the girls here because that's where our kiddies are, you know, and they were loved by the kids. So we did that. He keeps the herring away for us, you know, along with this, because the herring don't like to see another heron. So this keeps them away. This is a fake rock. It has all of our electricity under it that protects it. So our father's statue was his father's that was brought back from Florida. So we incorporated that. It's just, you know, whatever friends and family want to donate us, and
The
we
milk
try and
jugs over there,
incorporate.
They were all given. and-
Yeah, I noticed those. They work
Yeah,
well
our
as tables. Yeah, really good. Let's
Our
walk
side
over here.
tables.
Let's let everybody see what we're talking about here. And again, not everybody has the luxury of being able to afford the opportunity to use so much potential space. For people starting out wanting some type of a pond, though, Mark, and we can step up. Mind the alligator, though. Be
Yeah, we
careful
come
of
from
that.
Florida, too.
Oh, wow, there you go. But what advice do you have for somebody that is just starting out? I love this. I'm watching this on the garden walk. I really want to do this in my yard. What do you tell people?
Well, you tell them don't start out small because the next year you're going to want to go bigger. Every year you're going to want to go bigger. You want to start with something that you think you can manage. Like, I would prefer if you have a nice size yard, not even a big one, but just a nice size yard, to go with, like, if you were going to do a pond, something like this, like an 8 by 13
Okay.
by 3 foot deep to 4 foot deep for Michigan weather because of the winters. And yeah, it's not that hard to really take care of, you know. You just clean it once a week, if, you know, drain a little bit of water, add a little fresh. And yeah, you could have healthy fish, keep a cover over it, and sun doesn't get to it that much, and you don't have green water.
Yeah, there you go. Do the fish stay?
Yeah, they stay
Throughout
in
the
all,
year?
All year. They stay in all year. The stone will keep a hole in the ice so it doesn't freeze over. Keep a pump running so it circulates more water too, and they just stay at the bottom until springtime when they come up when they're hungry and they want to eat.
Incredible. Speaking of wanting to eat, you have a little feeder
Yeah.
over here.
Oh,
What
yeah.
a clever idea. Oh my gosh. Let's just kind of let's end here because this is fantastic. And I want to make sure that we get to kind of see it. Look at that. We literally are in a park. This is incredible. I would say though, get one next to it, Mark, that has maybe M&Ms or something for people. Yeah, if you wouldn't.
We do have two in the house.
That's just putting in a request, a little simple request there. So you're throwing it in. Oh, look at that. They are fantastic. How many do you have in there?
You know what? We're not quite sure.
Okay.
They spawned this year, so there's probably several babies in there. There's two really big ones. Then we got our medium one, and then there's probably at least 10 smaller ones in there. There is a couple goldfish in there, but they're mainly the koi. There's the butterfly koi, and there's dragon koi.
And I love the grasses and the flowers that you have planted around this too to make it even more natural. What a nice way to do it. Does this require a good amount of weeding, or do the rocks help with that?
The rocks help with it.
But there's still
Yeah, there's still weeds that
still
get
a little
through,
bit of
but
work.
Yeah, the rocks do help.
Okay.
Makes it easier to get the weeds out actually with the rocks there, because they just barely grow in there and you just pull them right out.
Right.
Well, this is you're probably way too young to have grandchildren, but this is like
No,
a
we have
grandchildren's. They've got to love coming here and visiting.
yeah.
This is amazing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, a job well done, and I know, again, as you say, work in progress. So next year when we come back, the pond's going to be next to the pool, probably. I don't know.
It'll
Hopefully
probably
not.
be the
Yeah, it
pool.
probably will be the pool.
I love it. That's
That's
great.
what she keeps saying to me. I'm like, oh, when that pool goes, there'll be a pond there.
Yeah, but we say no.
Well, I love it. Well, congratulations on your hard work. This is lovely. Thank you for opening it to our community, and continued success with what you're doing.
Great.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Certainly. We've got more to come. This is just a great day for a garden walk. Stay with us. We're on Elvin Street at the beautiful home of John Sanborn, one of our wonderful participants in this 25th annual Garden City Garden Walk. John, oh my gosh, you have something everywhere we look, but it all seems so purposeful and neat and orderly. So it's kind of like the best of both, and I love that about a garden, so congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. You've owned this property and this home for many years, but I understand it's been through quite a few changes and updates.
I bought this house in '82, and it was redone when I moved in. It was originally built in '30, so it was gutted right down to the 2x4s when I moved in. And after moving in, I built a shed, which took first place in the country, and that inspired me to get a builder's license. And I gutted the house in 2007 and redid the whole inside. And gradually through the years, I've been upgrading the outside. First thing I did when I moved in here in '82 was landscape. And I've probably redone it 4 or 5 times by now.
Work in progress, as we say, right? Always, yes. Tell us a little bit about your philosophy for the outside, for the gardening. I see a lot of color, but again, really kind of nice and tidy in kind of a cool way. You probably might not agree with that, because to you it's probably, it's everywhere, but based on different types of gardens, it looks very controlled, and that's a compliment.
I appreciate that. The last couple of years, I've been tending more towards perennials, trying to cut my maintenance down, especially my watering time. Went a little bit overboard this year, and watering is a great deal that has to be done all the time, as everybody realizes. But I try to get now where I generate color all through the year. So things that have already bloomed out, which to me over half of it has, now new things are coming to bloom. And I can't wait for that hydrangea to bloom. That's going to be gorgeous.
So you do mix some annuals, hanging baskets and things in with the perennials to provide those pops of color, which is great. In terms of maintenance, because as you indicated, watering can be an issue. Even though we've had all this rain, certain things still need their little pops of water. But how much time do you spend actually on average out here working on your garden?
Minimum watering an hour every day. Minimum. Sometimes on a good day, 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a commitment.
Yeah. Well, I think probably a part of it because it's really spread out. You have a huge, beautiful, huge. I'm assuming this is at least a double lot. It's fantastic. Yeah. You've got other things going up at the same time, projects like that garage that you're building. But in terms of actually enjoying the outside, do you get an opportunity to come out and sit and on your patio and just kind of say, this is nice?
Well, my downtime is usually pretty short. I'll sit down with the intentions of taking a long break.
Right.
After 2 minutes, I'm up and moving again. But that's just me. I'm always on the move.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I do take my time to go up there, and my quiet time is up there on the deck, of course, in the nice cushion in the shade. The weather's been great this year, and it shows by all the plants, the way they're growing. So.
Well, let's take a walk and make our way over to that quiet retreat area. But why don't we just go this way along your garden path? And again, nice mix of all sorts of different things. And you have some lawn art or some some garden art, as well as the flower boxes and things. And we love seeing higher, lower, just a nice mix. It's not all at the ground level, so the eyes can really appreciate different things. And then as we continue walking, and let's head over to this beautiful sounding pond, which people think you kind of need maybe a big yard to do a pond. Clearly not the case, even though you have the space. This is really nicely contained. Tell us about this.
Well, all the rocks that you see around here, I originally picked up on the west side of the state from some friends with intentions of doing a pond and a waterfall here. I'm still going to, as soon as I finish my garage, incorporate this into more rocks and take half of my railing out and put water all the way down the side going into a big koi pond out here eventually.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice. Good to have a plan, right?
Yes.
Excellent. How much maintenance does something like this take? Because it
Not
seems like
very
it should be
much.
pretty easy. Yeah.
I get a lot of wildlife that comes here every evening and drinks a lot of water. So that's my only thing, but while I water, I just add a little bit more to the fountain.
Okay.
So
Very good.
otherwise it's maintenance free, I'm sorry.
Well, let's keep walking. We're going to kind of loop it around here. And as you talked about a minute ago, trying to get color throughout, stretch that season as far as you can. What would you say would be like the first thing that you see blooming, and then how far, later into the fall do we get into the end of the season?
It starts when there's still snow on the ground. I mean, the daffodils come up in the front, all down the sides. Then the tulips come up, and the lilies, they come up every couple months. There will be a different breed blooming. Like a lot of them are out, but now some new ones are starting to bud and bloom out. The tropical milkweed is pretty well, ever since I planted that, been bloomed every day. So it's an attractant for the butterflies. I put butterfly bushes out this year, and it has attracted a lot more birds, butterflies, and a lot of wildlife too.
So knowing what different things are going to do will help you plan where you want different wildlife to come and experience. So there has to be a little bit of research, I would think, involved in this, or maybe you've been doing this for so long you're kind of doing pretty good. Where do you get your information from on those decisions?
Well, many years ago, back when Montgomery Wards was still here, I had the outdoor garden shop at Montgomery Wards at Plymouth and Middlebelt, and also the Montgomery Wards in Warren off of 96. And so my knowledge of plants started through that. And just being in the landscaping, I'm very good friends with Denny Crimboli from Crimboli Landscaping. And the Barsons up here, I'm up there every day. So I've learned a lot, and it helped me plan where I'm going with everything in this yard. Yes.
One of the, I think, running themes of all of the people in the garden walk this season has been making that plan. You kind of have to have that plan, like you talked about, with wanting your pond to go out and so on and so forth, and not doing too much too soon because you're not quite sure what it's gonna ultimately produce, right?
Right. Yes.
Well, let's keep walking. This is just beautiful. I love when we see a rock garden and people have kind of like a story behind the rocks. I know we had a house up north when I was growing up with my family, and once that got sold, we grabbed as many of the rocks as we could to put into our own house, decor. And so there's sort of some sentimental value in this kind of stuff, I know, as well. You also have some trees that you've kind of worked your deck around too, which is really neat. Any sort of philosophy on how big do you want to go?
Well, this corner's changed 3 times. There's still a stump down there from when I first moved in. I've probably had 3 different styles of trees here, but this hydrangea tree, when it blooms, is just phenomenal. It just is striking all the way from the street. I mean, I think this is where I'm going to stay. Like I said, I'm going to bring the pond down the deck and then into a koi pond here, and that'll add a lot of beauty to this tree in this corner.
Do you know what color it's going to come up?
White. This one is pure white.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Well, let's keep walking around. This is a great deck. Did you add this in '83, or was this already a part of the house, or did this come later?
After the shed, I
Okay.
did this in '85,
Okay.
back before I knew what I was doing. And I try to think back to some things that I've done here, and I don't know how I did it, but
It's
I've
held up though,
neglected-
right?
yes, it has, especially under the roof. It's like the day I did it, but out here, Mother Nature takes its toll on things. But it's being changed very soon.
Okay. Well, I think it's lovely. And you have some different little seating areas, which is very cool. I would think 2, 4, 6, 8, you could probably hold a really nice party for
I've had
me and
500
20 of my
people.
friends here. Yeah. Oh, 500
Yeah,
people.
500 people here, and you never knew it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then halfway through the day, somebody say, "Oh, geez, oh man, I just realized I'm in Garden City." They think they're on some tropical isle after they've been here for a while, and take it out. But
Wonderful. Well, let's keep walking. This is just amazing. And incorporating a little bit of the sort of the privacy from the sun is always an important component. Stopping here, I do notice a lot of greenery and a lot of ferns and things. Just so that kind of anywhere you look, you're going to see something growing and hanging. And any advice on the ferns? Some people love them because they're just so lush, and other people can't do it.
I just hang them, and they do quite well. I've seen them in the sun, and I'd like to try mine in the sun, but they do pretty good in the shade, so I stick to them in the shade.
Do you fertilize much throughout the gardens?
I just started fertilizing today for the first time this year.
Really?
Yes.
Well, you're doing something right all those other weeks and months, because everything just looks great. What do you have here? This is beautiful.
That's a begonia.
Okay.
I mean, bougainvillea, I'm sorry.
Bougainvillea.
Same as the tree over there.
Oh,
It's a bougainvillea tree.
wow. Beautiful. Does anything have to come indoors for the winter, or do you try to manage
This
it out here?
winter, my jasmines, my night blooming, and my star jasmines, the bougainvilleas will have to come in, but the garage hopefully will be heated by then, so that's where they'll go, because there's not room in the house for them. So,
I'll bet. Well, let's keep heading over here. And again, just love the colors and everything you're doing. Even outside of the deck, you've got covering for the fence, just to keep it as natural and lovely as possible. But what I see over here is a sign that says it's 5 o'clock in paradise. Something tells me it's 5 o'clock here, probably
it's
a
always
long
5
time.
o'clock here.
Let's come over to the bar, and I know we're working, so we can't, but let's stand here for a minute and take a look. And this is kind of scooting around here. This is incredible. Do you get to use it often, or more often than you like, or not often enough?
Not often enough,
Okay.
of course, yeah. I'm not one to sit still very long, so I'm always doing something. Now I've got the garage project going, so that'll take me up to the cold weather, I'm sure. So, but I do take my downtime. This is my quiet spot back here. And with the waterfall going and the chimes going in the corner, it'll put you to sleep very quick.
Well, this is just lovely, John. There really is something all over. We didn't even get onto the other side with the pergola type thing with your barbecue and so on. So that'll be for next time. But once the garage is done, But we thank you so much for your contribution to making Garden City so lovely, and for so many years now as well. And congratulations on being in the walk this year.
Thank you very much.
I heard it was not an easy task to get you to agree, but certainly glad you did.
Well, this young lady here finally talked me into it, and she says, you just got to do this. So I finally submitted. Of course, I started my garage now, so I'm pretty committed. So
Yeah. You're here to stay. We love that. Well, we, again, congratulate you and thank you for all of this hard work and effort. An inspiration to others, too, I'm sure. And that's one of the reasons why we love covering these different houses, because somebody watching will say, I've always wanted to do that. I just didn't think I could, or whatever. Well, this is living proof that pretty much anything that you can envision, you can do. So thank you.
yeah, if you got the dream, you can do it. That's all you need.
Excellent.
Right. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We've got more to come. Stay with us. At the beautiful backyard garden of Pam Dusek here in Garden City. We're on Cherry Hill Street, and you wouldn't guess that we were on a main road for a minute, by enjoying this beautiful landscaping back here. Congratulations, first of all, on being in the Garden Walk this year.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We have so much to look at in your beautiful yard. It really is a park-like setting with not only the size, but also the bigger trees incorporated into the smaller garden areas. So really just lovely. Do you have a certain style that you would call your garden, Pam, or does it just kind of ebb and flow as you do?
Kind of. I like different unique plants, and I had a goal when I first moved in here. There were any perennials. It was all bushes and shrubs, and this where we're standing was a swimming pool. So I wanted to have perennials and have flowers that would bloom from early in the spring till late in the fall, and that's basically what I've tried to do. And with the size of the yard, you know, you can't have a little tiny plant. You've got to have like the big hostas and big plants that are showy.
Yeah.
So
Well, and you've certainly done just that. How many years have you been cultivating this garden, and how many years have you lived here?
I've lived here like 24 years, a little over. And, you know, when I worked, I didn't have time to do as much, but I actually retired quite a while ago, 14 years ago. So 14 years ago, I started seriously. Yeah.
Wow. Well, these are the kinds of gardens that don't happen overnight. You can tell the well-established ones that have the longevity because they're, you know, the flowers are so big and the plants are so high and so on and so forth. Do you have a favorite spot? I know in your write-up there was something about a beautiful tri-colored tree, and I think that's the one just behind us. Tell us about that.
I heard a radio quiz one day when I was driving home from work, and it said, what's the most valuable tree or most expensive? And the answer was tricolor beech. So I went and looked it up on the internet because I'd never heard of it, and I thought, wow, that is a beautiful tree. And then here's how long ago it was. I was at Clyde Smith's, which isn't there, and they had a tree that was maybe 4 feet tall, maybe. And it was a tricolor beech, and they only had the one, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna buy it. But it was $100 and some, and I thought, well, it was so pretty, so there it is.
Does it stay that color?
And in the afternoon, when the sun's going down and it shines through there, it's like the tree glows. It's really pretty.
Just beautiful. Speaking of sun, I'm guessing, yes, you have some big trees around you, but this garden has to get a lot of sun, I'm sure. Is there a certain approach to dealing with the ones that don't need as much or should use a little more? Do you consider that kind of stuff as you plant and move things around?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
Mostly I just plant something, and then if it doesn't do that well, I move it. If I think it's not happy in its home, I give it a new home. So, like I have these hostas, and they get quite a bit of sun, and they do get sunburnt sometimes, but I get a lot of afternoon. By 3 o'clock, most of this half of the yard is in shade. So, because there's a lot of trees over there.
Well, that's a good thing. You have incorporated, again, color pretty much throughout, but also some really nice, like yard art kind of stuff. Do you have a certain style? It seems like we've had a theme of different types of birds this time around because they're just so beautiful. But what do you like?
I like little gnomes, and yeah, I have birds, but I have other things too tucked in here and there. There's a little girl up there, and there's these kids back here. So whatever
fantastic.
I find.
Okay. So it's kind of has to speak to you in the moment. Yeah, I get that. It looks like, in addition, you've sort of created some beds so as not to go too wild here in the yard, although you've certainly got plenty of room for it. But I noticed we've got sort of the lily section and the higher ones, and then sort of the lower ground things here. What is your most recent addition to your garden, to this area? Can you point that out, like the latest one that you started working on and developing?
No, not really, because after I took the pool out and put the pond in, then I made the beds around the pond, but the ones going down the side and the ones right here were behind the pond, so they were always here. So I look for sale plants and clearance on perennials. And then a lot of times if I like it, I buy it, and then I come home and walk around and figure out where I'm going to put it. So sometimes to put it, I have to move something else and put it there. So it's not really like I've developed a new one. I just rearrange what I have.
So it's kind of developing you as opposed to you.
Maybe.
You developing it. I like that. That's wonderful. Let nature
Keeps
speak
me
to you.
going.
Yeah, I'm sure. You have a beautiful water space over here, so I'd like to walk back and take a look at that. I see the cone flowers, and I see just all sorts of things. Again, the hostas are beautiful. I read something about a hibiscus. Maybe you can point that out when we get to it as well. But I want to just stop when we get to the top of this really cool bridge here and talk about your pond. This is one big one, yes? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, look at this. So was this here when you moved in?
No.
Okay, I was going to
I
say,
had
that's
it
incredible.
put, after I took the swimming pool out, I had
That's
the
right.
pond put in
Okay.
because we missed the water.
Yeah, yeah,
Missed having water.
I'll bet. You have so many different grasses, even pussy willows coming out, the cattails, I mean, yeah, over there. And in addition, there's still a lot of space to kind of walk around and to sit and so on. Do you have a favorite in all this stuff?
No, I like it all.
Yeah, you're just so easy to please. Oh my God, this is wonderful. We've got the fish down here. You've got the koi and some other things. They stay in year round. I understand. How much maintenance is involved in this?
There's not a lot because I try to keep the pond natural. And I read an article one time that said it's not an outdoor aquarium, it's a pond. So I kind of go by that philosophy. I keep the plants, I yank them out here and there so it doesn't get overwhelmed, but
I like that philosophy. Oh, look, a little dragonfly or something like that. I thought it was fake, but it's real. That's the other part. And I know also I was reading about some things that you like, and you like when the wildlife comes. Yes, the bunnies and the birds
Not
and the
the
butterflies.
herons.
Not the hair. Well, I've heard a lot about those this year. But do you have any vegetables put throughout this, or is it pretty much all this kind of stuff?
it's just flowers. I have a little one pot of cherry tomatoes up on the
Okay.
deck, but I have so many rabbits that if I try to plant a garden, I planted green beans one year, and they were coming up and they're looking beautiful, and I came home and there were sticks.
Oh.
So
That's kind of why I was asking about the wildlife. It's hard to do a little bit of both because well, I guess they have to eat too. Well, let's keep walking, and I definitely want to get over to what you've done on the other side of your yard here, and it really just has so many little pops of color here and there. In terms of what you're doing by way of annual planting, a little bit around your flower beds and so on, and we can look over in this direction too. But when it comes to annuals versus perennials are easier, but the annuals add that little bit of color too. So you got a mix, don't
I
you?
have them mostly up on the deck is most of the annuals.
Okay. Yeah. And again, just that extra color. Do you find that you get to come out and just relax and enjoy your time out here, or when you're sitting, do you get up in 5 minutes and say, "Ooh, I want to do that. I want to do that"?
Well, every morning I come out. I have a big dog. I bring the dog out and we walk around, and you can't help but walk by, and if you see a weed, you pull it out, or
Yeah.
if a flower's laying down, you get something, stake
Prop
it
it
up.
up,
So
Very good. Very good. And that hibiscus, is that there? I thought
it's
so.
not
Yeah.
blooming yet.
Okay. When do you think that's going to happen? How much more time?
Well, soon,
Okay.
a week or so.
Wow.
But it has flowers like this big pink flowers.
Nice, very good. In terms of cutting back your bushes and things, do you just do that once a season?
Pretty much. This yard's so big that, if I start usually on this flower bed behind us, and I get it all good, and then I keep working around, well, before I ever get halfway done, this one's got weeds growing in it again. So with the bushes, I try to get them all cut once a
Sure,
year,
sure.
but basically that's all, just once.
How much?
And these
Go
are
ahead.
kind of overgrown now, but
We've had a lot of rain.
Rain,
Yeah. The gardens look beautiful because of all that rain. I mean, that's the upside to it. How much time would you say you have to dedicate or choose to dedicate every day to your garden just to keep it looking so lovely?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you because it's just what I do. I'll
Yeah.
come out in the morning for a while and putz around, and then I'll go in, and if I don't have anything to do later in the afternoon when it's cooled down, I'll come back out and work some more.
You have the best philosophy about, I'm telling you about gardening. Some people are like, I need 3 hours every day. I need 2.2 hours. But you're like, I don't know. Just so that means that you're doing whatever you're doing, you're enjoying it because you're not
Right.
watching the clock, you know,
Yeah.
and enjoying this for a number of reasons, I'm sure. I want to congratulate you for being on the garden walk this year. It's just
Thank you.
lovely. And in addition, we are getting some good ideas about, what we can do because you have tried, it looks like, a lot. Tried a lot of different, experiments and things, and when they work, they're just out of this world. And hopefully, most of the time, they do work. But if not, like you said, you just move them around.
Right.
Right. Well, I thank you again for allowing us to look in your beautiful garden today. Congratulations on the walk and continued success with what you're doing here.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Righty.
Beautiful garden, and this is Garden City after all. More on the way. We're at the beautiful garden and fairy garden of Kim White as we celebrate the Garden Walk 2019 here in Garden City. And this lady is no stranger to garden walks, that's for sure. Neither is her garden, but I'll tell you, I just had the chance to walk through, and it's just ever changing, which is amazing. I feel like we're at the lake right now, but we're actually in front of the garage door. But we're going to take a walk through that fairy garden and let you have a peek in something that is not only fantastical, I made that word up, but also just really, really cool. So here we are. Welcome back and congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have you thought about how things have changed over the years with your garden? Do you have a plan that you enact, or do you just kind of go with what you feel?
Go with what I feel. I pick a spot and like, okay, what do I want to see if I'm sitting here? Or what do I want, where do I want to sit if I'm looking at this? So
Well, that actually makes a lot of sense. So there you go. Well, why don't we walk around and we're going to take a peek into your beautiful, beautiful fairy garden. And I've got to tell you, this is more than just the backyard. This is sort of all over the place. But just take a look at this. I mean, oh my gosh. Not to put you on the spot, but did you paint this by chance?
dad.
Your dad. Oh, wonderful. That's just
I
wonderful.
found it in the back of the garage. It was off for about 10 years, so I put it back on.
What a treat. What a treat. Great. Well, let's open the door and get into the fairy garden. There it is. Okay, we're going to walk through. Here we go. Just amazing. Tell us about what's going on back here. You've got stuff just, oh my gosh, all over the place. And why don't we kind of start, we're on the other side now into the magical garden. And why don't we talk about some of your greenery? You've got really every leaf in every shape and size here. What do you got going on?
Hostas and ferns and hyacinth, hydrangeas, daylilies. That's about it.
That's plenty. That's a lot. And on the other side, a little bit more, as well as some pops of color. We see the initial sort of row of fairies that are kind of starting things. Okay. All right. Tell us about that.
Well, this is my whole family here, and then my husband and neighbors and friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just put up something that reminds me of them.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they're always with you.
Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, let's keep walking. That's lovely. When we talk about the idea of really sort of going into another land, another place, this is kind of what's happening right here, in my opinion. You have some pots with different things to bring the color through. Why do you do that? What's the purpose behind that?
I just like container gardening. I think they're pretty, and my soil wasn't as good before, so that's what I started with and just kept going.
You've got some of both. Do you find that the containers might be a little easier to contain, if you will, with weeds and things? Is it a little bit easier than just
Yes.
all over the ground?
Yes. I can do a variety that I can't do on the ground.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense. That's a really great idea for somebody kind of starting out too, isn't it? Yeah.
put in what you want.
Well, let's keep walking. We are enjoying all of your artwork and your mosaics and your little sayings with your, the stained glass and so on. But if I was going to say like 20 years ago, but like last week, I would have loved to just spend some time with like a little, I don't know, like a little Barbie doll or something and kind of, hello, let's go to the fairy garden. That is just too cool. So have you added anything new recently, or do you just kind of
Half of
shake it
this
up?
Is new this year. The whole center was redone. This whole side was redone. So, I just every year I do something.
Yeah.
So
Very nice. You've got a lot of seating areas, which we like to see. We like to enjoy that. And as you said a few minutes ago, sometimes you just sit down and you say, what would I like to see here? And that sort of inspires you. Yeah, okay. How much time do you spend working out here? Or enjoying yourself out here? Let's put it that way.
a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. If even now going through, take me a couple hours to weed and rake and even being this maintained.
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty well maintained. When the bad weather comes, which it inevitably does, and I'm not talking about the rain, I'm talking about the snow and the cold, how much of this gets to stay out and how much do you actually bring back
It all
in?
goes in.
It does.
Every single bit of it, and then the benches get covered, but it all goes in.
That's got to be an undertaking. Do the grandkids, the triplets and the other come
Those
in
are
to
my
help?
Nieces and
Oh,
nephews.
nieces and nephews.
Well, I'm trying to bribe them to come back in the fall. So,
Is it working?
well, it's working for them. My brother's not real happy with it, but, but they're loving it.
Yeah, good, good. Well, what's not to love? This is a great place to enjoy yourself. And I knew you were way too young to have grandchildren that age. But just for the record, let me just share that. You have some trees, and you kind of work your stuff around the trees. You work your little critters and creatures and magical, gnomes and so on.
Reptile resort.
Reptile Resort. I love that. Let's walk up here and take a look a little closer. Yeah, this is reptiles, all right.
It grew enough that they have their own police officer. So.
Oh, I love it. That's fantastic. We have the pool, and with the pool comes chlorine and maybe some splashing and that kind of stuff. Is that ever an issue, or not so much?
No,
Okay.
no, never.
Good. 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 Do you fertilize much? The pots? Do you really? You don't have to do that.
No, not at all. So,
Easy enough.
yeah.
Love it. All right. Well, let's keep walking. There's so much more to see. I could sit down here for an hour and probably still not have my eyes catch everything. You obviously have had some beautiful artwork done on your garage, and it's a little hard to see, but we have the unicorn, and I see a fairy and the sort of the fairy kingdom back there. Yeah, the castle. So when you're sitting here and just relaxing and enjoying yourself, are you just thinking, this is really cool?
Yes, yes. And also I'm thinking, I really need to freshen that up. So,
I'm trying to give you an out so you don't have to do any work here, Kim, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Now, I suspect that you very much enjoy your time out here.
yes, I do. That's why I got that plaque.
Today's forecast, weeding with a chance of drinking. Oh,
There's
boy.
always a chance.
There you go.
So,
Always a chance.
That's right.
That's you're an
that's why the
optimist.
benches.
I love it. That's great. Well, let's keep walking. There again is just something for everybody, I think, to enjoy and appreciate here. How much actual blooming of flowers do you get outside of the pots? Because I see some lilies and things, but most of this really is the green. It's the green stuff, which is just pretty all the time, frankly.
It's mostly the greenery. The daylilies, the geraniums. That's about it. Yeah.
Okay.
The
Very good.
hostas do bloom.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. When we get into enjoying the fall season, do you have to do much out here with the greenery? Do you just keep it
No, It's
manageable?
mostly in the spring
Okay.
that the stuff will come down.
I see.
Leave it up all winter.
Okay.
Mhm.
Very nice. Well, why don't we sort of wrap up where we started, but on this side while we're still in the fairy garden. And can we maybe have a seat over here? Just have a little sit down. Come on and join me, and we'll give you your. We can't promise the drinks, but at least we can let you have a minute to rest before we have to move on. But so, how many garden walks has this been for you?
This is the third.
I don't know, that might be a record or something. I'm not really sure, but it's a pretty darn good thing. So clearly you're inspiring people with what you're doing here, and they want to keep coming back because they want to see the changes that you're making and so on. What kind of advice would you give somebody that just wants to start something small and maybe with the personality to show, just like yours does here?
Go with what you like. Just pick what you like and run with it.
Okay.
You don't have to know what you're doing, just have to like what you're doing.
We're going to leave it at that. Well, we are so grateful for the opportunity to come back and enjoy this little bit of fantasy in this beautiful garden. And again, it's not just back here, but it's everywhere. Your attention to detail is amazing. Congratulations on being on the Garden Walk again, 25th annual Garden Walk, and we're happy to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
I'm happy to have you here.
Terrific. Well, we have enjoyed some beautiful homes, and there's so much more to talk about still, so stay with us. What an amazing day, an amazing group of houses and homeowners and just lovely gardens. You know, 25th annual Garden Walk did not disappoint, and if possible, I swear they just keep getting bigger and better every single year. Maybe that's in part due to the Great Garden Club, right, that we have that sponsors this event each year. If you're interested in more information about the Garden City Garden Club, they do meet every month, and they're meeting the third Tuesday of the month at 7 o'clock at Maplewood Center, except during these beautiful summer months they meet at people's houses. Why not? And enjoy that. Whether gardening is your very favorite thing to do or you're just interested in getting into it in some small way, I understand the friendship, the camaraderie, and really the conversation is one of the reasons people go to those meetings, as well as the plant talk, right? Well, we've enjoyed this 25th anniversary Garden Walk and hope you have as well. Stay with us. We always have great programming on this channel, and we are here for support of the namesake of the Garden City Garden Walk, and that is our own hometown, Garden City, Michigan. Have a great day.